I'm Zeckthar, and today we will be finishing up what happened to the founders of the Imperium Secundus. But mainly, we will be focusing on Lionel Johnson. We will start with their attempt to punch through the Runestorm, which leads to the Second Battle of Davin, and finally, the Lion's Crusade of Vengeance, also known as the Passage of the Angel of Death. Well, let's dig into it, shall we?
As I said in the last Vox, with the proof of the Emperor not being dead, the three Primarch leaders of the Imperium Secundus dissolved the Empire, mustering their forces and attempted to break through the Runestorm. Now, one of the reasons they had not already done this was simply because it was viewed as nigh impossible. But with the thought of their father in trouble, the brothers gathered their ships and tried once again to punch through. Once in the Runestorm, the combined Loyalist fleets came across a variety of warp-born horrors, and word of a dark entity spreading destruction known as the Pilgrim. Not even the Tukulcha engine proved capable of navigating the Runestorm, which frustrated the Lion. During the Battle of Pyron, L. Johnson commanded Dark Angels Astartes, as Sanguinius received a vision and realized that he needed to go where the Horus Heresy had truly begun, the world of Davin. Now, I know we will mainly be focusing on the Lion here, but I must take time to interject a couple of things. 1. These visions of Sanguinius were not his first. His gravest vision was that his brother Horus would kill him, yet he would die in the defense of his father, the Emperor. Keep this in mind, for I think it plays an interesting part of the angel's downfall. I think he was so ready to believe this to be true, he became tunnel-visioned as to any other options. Now, if there were truly no other options, then we must admire Sanguinius' courage and dedication to not just his father, the Emperor, but to all mankind. Yet, this galaxy is a tricky thing, and when you have been around as long as I have, you come to realize that the future is what you make of it. And while visions and prophecies caused by the warp are tricky things, best not to fully believe them. We will get back to Sanguinius in a moment. There is another key piece to this part of history, one that taught both Guilliman and L. Johnson a little about loyalty to their brothers. During the voyage through the Runestorm, Guilliman's fleet was ambushed by traitor forces at Onari, where Guilliman survived an assassination attempt by world bearers armed with a chaos blade known as Athamas. Believing he could study the weapons to gain a better understanding of chaos and potentially use such knowledge against the traitors, Guilliman kept the blades in his vault. Keep this in mind for later. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. During the Battle of Pyron, Sanguinius received a vision and realized he needed to go where the Horus Heresy had truly begun, the world of Davin. Both the Lion and the Lord of Macrog agreed that the best course of action was to destroy the world from orbit, but they trusted Sanguinius when he said that the answers through the Runestorm may be on the surface of the planet. Once they orbited Davin, Sanguinius shocked the Lion by boarding the Invincible Reason and taking Conrad Curtis with him. Now, if you recall from last week's Vox, Lionel Johnson swore to be the Night Haunter's jailer and had been keeping him under his guard on his flagship. Sanguinius hoped to use Curtis's prophetic abilities to determine what he was meant to do upon Davin. However, the Dark Angel's guards did not submit to Sanguinius, and he was forced to dispatch several using non-lethal methods. After escaping the Invincible Reason, Sanguinius ordered a mass landing on the world through dropships. Enraged beyond reason, L. Johnson nearly ordered that Davin be subjected to exterminatus, regardless of Sanguinius' presence on it. Guilliman was able to bring the Lion back to his senses before such a horrific betrayal could occur, and humbled L. Johnson explained to Guilliman that he believed something was trying to manipulate them to begin walking the path of damnation like Horus and the other traitor Primarchs. Upon hearing these words, the Ultramarine Primarch realized the source of the corruption. Guilliman retreated to his vault and crushed the captured Athamas with his power fist, even as he declared to the Dark Gods that he would not be tempted as Horus had. Now, I'm thinking out loud here, and while I can't find any scrolls or books stating this, but I believe that the Lion and the Avenging Sun had a reckoning here. I think these two had been on edge with each other ever since the Imperium Secundus, and at this moment, both had seen each other make a mistake. bringing them together as equals through failure. I think they came to understand each other's weaknesses as well as strengths better in this moment of failure, and for the time came together with one simple cause: help Sanguinius. What took place next was a battle for the records, known as the Second Battle of Davin. Mustering their forces, both L. Johnson and Gilliman followed the Angel planetside and found him at the Snake Lodge, that horrible place where Horus Lupercal had turned to the powers of chaos. Sanguinius stood at the altar where Horus had been laid and proclaimed that he would change his destiny. This activated Davin itself. Warp storms roared above, and a portal opened that swallowed up Sanguinius. Inside the portal, Sanguinius was back on Terra in a beautiful garden at the Imperial Palace. He for the first time was experiencing a vision that was not his death aboard the Vengeful Spirit. He saw Lorgar dead by his hands, and the remaining traitor Primarchs brought before him in chains. The Emperor congratulated Sanguinius on his victory and named him the Imperator Regis of the Imperium. With Sanguinius as the Emperor's regent, he went on to lead the great campaign that purged the Imperium of all corruption and evil, and the galaxy was his to rule. Seeing this future and observing the Emperor's mannerisms, he became suspicious to what was going on. At last, he cut down the image of the Emperor, who was revealed to be the demon, Medial. Sanguinius and Medial engaged in a vicious duel. Medial had unleashed a demonic horde through the portal to prevent Gilliman and the Lion breaking through. A vicious battle erupted, both on Davin and above it in orbit, where Gilliman's acting flagship, Samothrace, was destroyed in orbit by the demon ship Veritas Ferrum. The host on the ground even included a massive soul grinder, but even this mighty war engine of evil and malevolence was no match for the two brothers. Now fighting as one, the two brothers destroyed the vile thing, sending it back to the forge. While the unified brothers fought mightily, the hordes of demons kept coming, and it was starting to look bleak. On the other side of the portal, things weren't looking any better. The Angel was eventually pinned by Medial's host of demonic troops, and the Preacher of Chaos Undivided announced that Sanguinius would serve or die. Medial dubbed Horus as an imperfect vessel and urged Sanguinius to strike Lupercal down and take up the mantle as War Master of Chaos. However, despite the temptations, Sanguinius denied the demon and broke free of his captors. Sanguinius and Medial again engaged in a duel, but this time the demon was impaled by both the blade in Carmine and the spear of Telesto. The two wounded warriors wrestled with one another until they were both in the portal, torn between the Materium and the Immaterium. On Davin, Gilliman and the Lion saw Sanguinius' upper half sticking through the portal and rushed to his aid, but they were blocked by the demons. The stalemate endured until Sanguinius' herald stepped forth and declared that he would take the Angel's place in the portal. Realizing that this was his herald's destiny, and that he needed to confront Horus at Terra for the Imperium to endure, Sanguinius solemnly agreed. The herald charged into Medial, and as he tackled the demon back through the portal, was transformed into a golden angelic form. The Primarchs and their escorts managed to escape the temple just as it collapsed. After fleeing the world's mantle, Davin was destroyed by cyclonic torpedoes, and with its anchor and rail space gone, the demonic fleet vanished back into the warp. And where Davin had once been, a breach in the Runestorm was now visible. The path through led directly to Terra, but upon further study it became apparent that Horus had foreseen that this route to Terra might open for the Loyalist, and had blocked it with a gauntlet of multiple traitor fleets. Gilliman and the Lion agreed to distract the blockade, while Sanguinius and the Blood Angel's fleet made directly for Terra, for that was their destiny. Bah! Destiny! We have seen what destiny has done to past empires, and the follies of following such nonsense always leads to destruction, sometimes in the utter extremes. Okay. Take the old ones and their thoughts that they were destined to rule the galaxy alone. Such thoughts not only destroyed them, but brought about the destruction of the Necrontyr, the rise of the Necron Empire, and the birth of the Orcs. It even brought forth the creation of one of the Chaos Gods, Slaanesh, through the desperate attempts of stopping the Necrons and the Catan by creating another species, the Eldar, who in turn, after the Necrons went to sleep in their tombs, thought themselves destined to rule the galaxy. Only one can be known to bring true destiny. He is not part of the warp. My apologies. I got a little carried away there. Let us continue to the good parts, shall we? The three brothers split up, and Robute Gilliman and his Ultramarines taking on a string of worlds controlled and fortified by the Iron Warriors. His path I have documented in my Vox The Shadow Crusades, the Battle of Kulth Part 2. And that is where we will leave the Avenging Sun in this Vox, because we are going to follow the Lion in his campaign known in history as the Crusade of Vengeance. After the split of the brothers, wrathful Lionel Johnson then led the Dark Angels in a wrecking havoc across the Southern Imperium in a campaign of revenge and extermination. It was designed to both punish the traitorous forces of the War Master Horus and destroy their military assets in the region. By doing so, L. Johnson sought to prevent the War Master from creating a second front unified against Terra. The Primarch ordered the usage of the Dark Angel's old night weaponry, and this resulted in a trail of blackened, scorched worlds that were loyal to Horus, to be left in their wake. Among these worlds that were destroyed by the Dark Angels were the Traitor Legion homeworlds of the Emperor's children, Chamos, the Death Guards, Barbarous, and Nuceria, the adopted world of the Primarch Angron, of the World Eaters. This systematic annihilation of resource-rich worlds deprived Horus of precious materials he needed in order to maintain a lengthy siege on Terra. This ultimately forced the War Master to hasten his planned invasion of the Sol system. The Lion was enraged. There was no stopping his feasting on broken worlds. The Primarch was so intent on his vengeance that he would refuse to allow the Dark Angels to directly aid or take part in any Imperial battles that would deviate from his main objective. Nothing could stop the Lion on his hunt. And the devastation that was left in his wake caused even the gods of chaos to quake in fear. The Lion eventually made for deliverance, linking up with the Raven Guard and Space Wolves, as well as their respective Primarchs, Corvus Corax and Leman Russ. The Lion was quick to question the Raven Lord's absence from major fronts of the war, but his ire was put to rest by Leman Russ, of all people, who pointed out that the survival of Corax's legion was evidence of its own worth. Russ declared that he would join the Lion's Crusade of Vengeance, including warriors equipped with the new Mark VI power armor produced on Kavar. Corax, however, was cautious to commit his bloodied legion to what he saw as a needless, spiteful waste, and only assigned a small expeditionary force of his Raven Guard to the Lion's forces. Yet, even in this role, Corax's forces were used to eliminate key enemy targets ahead of the main Dark Angels fleet in order to spare entire worlds from annihilation. Eventually, the Dark Angels made course for Terra on the Lion's command, but arrived too late to influence the outcome of the Siege of Terra or prevent the Emperor from being mortally wounded by Horus. Because of this Crusade of Vengeance and the meeting up with Leman Russ, the two forces moved towards Terra, causing Horus to speed up his plans and set a trap for the Emperor. In the process, Sanguinius runs to the aid of his father and is struck down, killed by his brother, thus fulfilling his vision. I will end this short box with what really happened to the Lion. Dismayed and feeling like a complete failure because of the loss of the Emperor and his brother, the Lion returned home to Caliban, where he found his longest and most loyal friend had betrayed him to chaos, and their fight caused the destruction of his homeworld.
If that is a story for another time, I hope you liked this Vox. Feel free to like, subscribe, and follow. Join Euxin and I as we discuss the Primarch of the Salamanders, Vulcan, next Tuesday. Until next time.
This is Zeckthar, signing off.